Good evening. Welcome to the Napoleon Memoirs. Tonight I'm shining all the buttons on my black shirt. I hope you're all doing well. Anyway, so we're going to get right into the reading of the memoirs of Count Charles Tristan de Montsalon, who, the amazing thing is I'm always saying he poisoned Napoleon, and you wonder how could someone fool the smartest man who's pretty much ever walked the planet. And now we're finding out because you're seeing how incredible he is at acting like he is all for Napoleon. And one of the memoirs said that at some point, right before Napoleon died, he looked at Montsalon and his expression seemed to say, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I find it very hard to believe that Napoleon was completely fooled by this person. But he talked a good game. And, I do encourage you to look up in the archives of my blog the letters between him and his wife, because you can see that they are a pair of grifters who are playing Napoleon and trying to get everything they can out of him. And part of that was getting to have these books to sell. And I think it's very clear in those memoirs that his wife poisoned the child that she probably had with Napoleon. So Montsalon kind of handed his wife over to Napoleon, and Napoleon couldn't really be alone. He needed a woman all the time. So this is a tremendous weakness of Napoleon's character. He cannot be without a woman. I mean, any woman. So his enemies understood that. So they always had a pretty girl around him. And that's a very interesting pattern. So it's pretty clear we're dealing with poisoners from the letters. And we're seeing a very different side to him here than we see in the letters. Even though they knew that the English government was reading everything that they were saying, they still had to say certain things to each other. And in the letters, Montsalon is saying, look, Napoleon's going to want me to read these letters to him. So, watch what you say. It's very clear what's going on with them. And then here you're seeing the public Montsalon. And look, he fooled Napoleon. So Napoleon did change his will in his favor on the last days, which shows exactly what he was after. The other people were actually there for him. And Montsalon took the opportunity to change the will in his favor. That says everything. Okay, and everyone around was like, oh, check that out. Montsalon's changing the will in his favor. Oh, wow. Anyway, just look at what people do. It's not that hard to figure out. But he sounds like the most loyal person on the planet in this book. And I don't even see anything he's saying that's wrong. So sometimes the truth is used to deceive. Okay. Anyway, let's get started. Montsalon. Here we go. The English do not punish as we do by the immediate decision of a superior in rank. With them, the right of the superior only extends to taking a note of the fault of the inferior without inserting it into his daily report. A council of discipline presided over by the commanding officer judges the criminal after having heard him. In this way, nothing is left to the arbitrariness, malice, ill humor, or false judgment of the superior. The organization is the same in the army. Emperor remarked it several times and expressed regret that he had not given to the French army this disciplinary organization. Calms invited us, inactive under the line for 21 days. Murmurs were beginning to grow rather loud when the most experienced seaman announced the approach of a breeze. Sir George Cockburn had followed an unusual route. Instead of crossing to the coast of Brazil, he had persuaded himself by the experience of past voyages that it was better to keep constantly near the coast of Africa, and that in this way a shorter and less difficult voyage would be secured. He was, however, mistaken, for a frigate and 2 brigs, which had been separated from us during the early part of the voyage by a violent gale of wind, and which followed the usual track, arrived at St. Helena 16 or 17 days before the Northumberland. Any vessel in sight causes emotions at sea. How much more superwar with the white flag advancing full sail towards us. Admiral made a signal to the brig to tack towards it, and we soon learned that his sloop, returning from Pondicherry, had approached us, and that its commander, appointed in 1814, had gone on board the English brig in order to find out where he was. This officer was an old emigre, and after 30 years in action, re-entered the Navy, was unfitted both by his age and by his having forgotten his profession to command a vessel. But he would not confess this before his officers. In fact, he did not know where he was. A false self-love made him thus prefer confessing his ignorance to Englishmen rather than deliver up to Frenchmen of the Empire who served under him the care of conducting the sloop. The poor man had got wrong several degrees of latitude and longitude. While we were at St. Helena, another French sloop was lost on the coast of Africa. From the same cause, the incapacity of its commander, also an old emigre. Every day, when the weather permitted, the captain of one of the vessels of the squadron was invited to dine on board the Northumberland. The captain of the brig Griffin enjoyed this honor the most frequently, either because he had served long with Sir George Cockburn, or that he was more interested in coming and contrived matters so as to be always nearer than the rest to the admiral's vessel. He was a very honest fellow and showed sympathy towards us. His name was Wright. So basically, Napoleon gets put under the authority of Sir George Cockburn. And something that's very interesting about him is, if I'm not mistaken, I think he also trapped George Washington. Something like that. So he he was holding the keys on Washington and Napoleon. And basically, he's under Cockburn's authority when they go to St. Helena. And by all accounts, Cockburn tried to do his best. Napoleon thought he was a little conceited, but he tried to conduct himself with honor. And then once Cockburn goes, they bring in I want to say monster, but what's a monster? They bring in the guy who's going to get the job done. And they get rid of the benevolent governor who had been there. So this whole thing was a carefully orchestrated plot. Okay? But Cockburn did his best, and he does leave, and things aren't so bad in the beginning under Cockburn. But, Washington and Napoleon, that's kind of cool. I'm sure Cockburn was proud of that. All right, next time for Las Casas in Italian. These people are very interesting, all of them, even the monsters. They're all really interesting. And they're all people, but they did behave, some of them did behave like monsters. All right. It's just the truth. Unfortunately, people need to behave, or else they're going to be remembered by their behavior. And Sir Hudson Lowe he didn't leave a good legacy at all. They can try to fix it, but they can't, because the truth is out there about what he did to Napoleon. All right, French, yeah. Okay, let's go Italian, okay? Rispetto a ciò, non aveva egli né diffidenze, né pregiudizi, né passioni. Aveva sempre adoperato uomini di ogni classe, d'ogni partito, senza mai tener conto del loro passato, senza richiedergli di ciò che avessero fatto, detto, pensato, e seguendo d'ora innanzi procedessero di buona fede e concordi verso lo scopo comune, il bene e la gloria del universale che a tutto dire si appressarono e vari francesi, soprattutto non erassi mai rivolto ai capi per guadagnarsi i partiti, ma per contrario cattivavassi la massa per poterni disprezzare i capi. Tale era stato, diceva il sistema costante della sua politica interna, e malgrado gli ultimi avvimenti era ben lunghi dal potersene se dovesse ricominciare, tornerebbe a fare lo stesso. Senza ragioni, proseguiva egli, mi venne rimproverato d'aver impiegato nobili ed emigrati, imputazioni banali e bassissime. Il fatto sta che sotto di me non erano più in Francia che opinioni e sentimenti individuali, non furono i nobili negli emigrati che ricondussero la ristorazione, sebbene la ristorazione risuscitò i nobili e gli emigrati. Essi non hanno più degli altri contribuito alla nostra perdita. I veri colpevoli sono gli intriganti di tutti i colori e tutte le setti. Fouché non era un nobile, Talleyrand non era un emigrato, Ogro e Mormon non erano nell'uno nell'altro. E infine, poeti, una non ultima prova del torto, che si ha di pigliarsela con le classi interi, quando una rivoluzione come la nostra ha lavorato in mezzo ad essi. Contate che di 4 voi siete 2 nobili, l'uno dei quali è anche emigrato, l'ottimo signor De Seer, malgrado l'età sua, alla mia partenza mi si offerse di seguirmi e potrei moltiplicarne gli esempi all'infinito, senza ragione, continuava egli. Mi si è fatto rimprovero di non aver debitamente calcolato certe persone influenti, ora troppo potenti per non disprezzare impunemente le mani e le immoralità nota della maggior parte di essi. Nessuna di tali cose mi ha spodestato, ma solo impreveduti catastrofi e inudite circostanze prepotenti. 5.000 uomini alla porta della capitale, una rivoluzione troppo recente, una crisi troppo forte per le testi francesi e soprattutto una dinastia non abbastanza antica. Se io fossi stato solamente nel secondo grado, mi sarei rialzato dal piede dei Pirenei. Ecco quelli e quanta la magia del passato per fermo io era l'eletto dai francesi. Il nuovo loro culto era tutto opera loro. Ebbene, non appena ricomparvero gli antichi, vedete con quanta facilità sono ritornati agli idoli. Dopo tutto questo, come mai un'altra politica avrebbe potuto impedirci io che mi ha perduto? Sono stato tradito da Mormon, che potevo chiamare mia creatura, opera mia di colui al quale confidavo i miei destini, mandandolo a Parigi nel momento stesso in cui consumava il suo tradimento e la mia perdita. Sono stato tradito da mio re, che da soldato aveva fatto re ed era lo sposo di mia sorella. Sono stato tradito da Berthier, però quando aveva fatto un specie d'aquila, sono stato tradito dal Senato e proprio da quelli del Partito Nazionale che mi andavano di tutto debitori. Tutto questo non ha per nulla dipenduto tutto dal mio sistema di politica interna. Forse mi si potrebbe accusare a tutte ragioni di aver impiegato troppo facilmente antichi nemici o nobili o emigrati ovi un Megdano, un Valence o un Montesquieu mi avessero tradito, ma i Glino mi rimasero fedeli. Che se mi si obiettassi la stupidità del mio risponderei tosto allegando i talenti del momento. Non ho dunque a pentirmi dal mio sistema di politica interna. Right, this is one of the awesome moments where it's just Napoleon talking. And he's saying you can't blame the aristocrats. The other ones who betrayed me just as much. It's terrible. So sad. They betrayed Napoleon too. Why did everybody betray him? What is wrong with people? He was great. Something wrong. But anyway. Tell me how stupid Murat was. Murat was this hunk. This gorgeous guy who was married to his sister. And they see Napoleon so ambitious. Murat was a million times more ambitious than he was. And his sister, forget it. Lady Macbeth all day was his sister. Carolyn, she would have done anything for money. And she did anything. She did anything for money. His sister was like a Carolyn. Carolyn was married to Murat. Anyway, these are great stories. Learn them all. They're fascinating. Napoleon's sister was ambition incarnate. She was beautiful. Anyway, Carolyn, his youngest sister, Carolyn, and she betrayed him. I don't know how these people live with themselves. I mean, Napoleon did everything for her. I don't know. Anyway, so we go back to poor Lavalette, awaiting execution in jail for in the post office. Because the terrorists took over again. And, we know all about that. So, poor Lavalette. But, a lot of aristocrats are coming through for him. Because they know that what's happening is wrong. And there are here and there people who are trying to stand up for him. But, the conspiracy is taken over and everybody wants their money, or they're scared that they're going to be executed. So either they're scared or they're greedy, and they're just going to let innocent man be murdered in public because people need to become better. And they need to stand up for what's right. I hope that we actually do see a miraculous change in people. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm fighting for. And it's up to you guys to make this world a better place. People like me can only do what we do. There needs to be a lot of participation if we're going to see real changes. Okay, so let's get back into French. Hopefully we'll learn some languages. Et il ne restait plus qu'être jours dans une si court espace de temps. Il fallait trouver moyen d'arriver jusqu'au roi. Les docteurs se sont chargés. Le général Foyvin de sa part chercher Madame Lavalette. Elle la conduisit par des détours jusqu'à l'entrée de la galerie de Diane où elle trouva le maréchal qui l'a pris par les bras et lut les mémoires qu'elle devait présenter au roi. C'était pendant la messe. Toute la cour était la chapelle et le roi devait repasser par cette galerie pour rentrer dans ses appartements. Malheureusement, un des huissiers qui se trouvions là reconnut ma femme, et comme il était contre l'usage que ce feu peut se tenir dans cette galerie sans une ordre spécial, il crut devoir avertir le maréchal et le prier de faire retirer Madame de Lavalette. Madame restera, lui dit le maréchal d'un ton ferme. L'huissier courut avertir un officier du palais, et celui-ci renouvela l'avertissement d'un ton si positif que le maréchal pouvait le prendre comme un ordre. Madame restera, puisqu'elle est ici, répondit-il. Je prends de tout sur moi. Cependant, le cul avancé, les rois prévenus sentit qu'il était trop tard pour éloigner de ce vue une infortunée qui peut-être que serait du scandale pour sa résistance. Il continua donc à avancer, et quand il fut en face de Madame de la Valette, elle tomba à ses pieds en lui présentant son mémoire. Le prince s'inclina vers elle, prit le papier en lui disant « Madame, je ne puis faire autre chose que mon devoir. » Et il passa outre. Ma femme tenait une seconde mémoire pour Madame la duchesse d'Angoulême. Le duc de Ragus, la voyant hésiter, la pressa de courir après la princesse put le lui remettre. Elle s'avançait lorsque M. Dagou, chevalier d'honneur, se retourna et lui posant ses deux bras étendus et ses mains ouvertes, la força de s'arrêter. Cette phrase du roi ne ressemblait pas à celle qu'il avait prononcée un mois avant dans son cabinet, quand Madame de la Valette s'y présenta. Il parlait de son devoir maintenant, quand on lui parlait de Clémence. Ce mot était effrayant. Émilie parut d'abord non pas sentir toute la gravité, mais il était décisif pour moi. Et je m'appliquai bien vite à prendre des précautions pour que ma femme et mon enfant puissent être trompés, éloignés pendant des jours, mais cela n'était pas facile avec la mère. Son courage croissait avec la danger. Et elle imagina de faire une nouvelle tentative auprès de Madame la duchesse d'Angoulême. Cette princesse habitait le rez-de-chaussée de Tuileries où avait logé le roi des robes. Madame de la Valette quitta ses vêtements noirs sous lesquels elle avait paru la veille au château, descendit de sa chaise à porteur dans une rue voisine et se présenta à la porte de la princesse à l'heure où on avait coutume d'entrer. La pâleur de son visage, ses yeux gonflés, sa démarche pénible la firent remarquer et bientôt reconnaître par les valets. À l'instant, la porte fut fermée et l'ordre donné au témoin de ne laisser entrer personne. Refusé à cette porte, elle s'atta. On allait chercher une autre sous le grand vestibule, mais au valet de piade courut devant elle peu avec terre, et elle fut également refusée. Épuisée de fatigue, elle s'assit sous les marches de pierre de la cour, et y resta pendant une heure. Se faisant que l'illusion complète serait entrée. I can't read this. It's so. I think one of Napoleon's generals was in with the new people, the new puppet regime of English gold, and he got Lavallette's wife Emily, who was this beautiful person, into the Tuileries Palace, which had just been Napoleon's home, and they're coming back from church of all places, because they all go to church, right? And his wife is losing her mind, basically, literally losing her mind. And she's saying to the king, look, I'm an aristocrat. I'm the daughter of an emigre. I've suffered with you. How could you do this to us? And the guy just says to her, I'm doing my duty, and walks on. Of course, his duty, right? And then she turns to the daughter of Marie Antoinette, who's right there in the puppet club. Yeah, because anyway, she figures maybe the daughter of Marie Antoinette's going to have some sympathy. No. So they just repulse Emily, throw her out to the streets. I don't know how these people can be like this. That's the daughter of Marie Antoinette. couldn't care less. You know, and their whole issue here is this is going to make them look bad because Emily was such a good person. You know, Emily to Beauharnais Lavalette, and the Beauharnais did everything to help aristocrats. This is what they were known for. Hortense and Josephine and Emily, and these aristocrats, these royalists, would literally send assassins after Napoleon. And then when it was time to mete out justice to them, Josephine and Hortense and Emily was certainly with them, would beg them to save the lives of the assassins of Napoleon. And then Napoleon would freaking grant pardon to his own assassins. And then they became the next regime. And then they wouldn't show mercy to the completely innocent people who were loyal to him. And then people would say, you know, Josephine was wrong to do that. They should have faced justice. And even at St. Helena, Napoleon is saying he truly believed that he was Julius Caesar. And, you know, as most of us know, Julius Caesar was murdered. And Napoleon believes that he was murdered as Julius Caesar. And he's saying at St. Helena, I made the same mistake I made when I was Julius Caesar. I should have killed those people. And I can't say that enough. You know, he knows that he was too nice. And he thought he could just somehow survive. But those people are going to kill him. They're monsters. Yeah, they're monsters. So, yeah, I couldn't even read this. Anyway, to be expected with Lavalette. I can't even handle Lavalette. So, what happens the rest is I don't know how I'm gonna handle this because I have to read it tomorrow. I can't read this stuff. It's so horrible. How could they do that to her? And the Beauharnais did everything for specifically these people. This I could go over this over and over and over again. When they were down, the Beauharnais did everything for them, and then when they were on top, they're killing them and exiling them. Okay, so. And then when they're down, there's nothing. Oh, please help us. We need money. And then when they're up and they have English gold behind them, it's a completely different story. I'll continue this tomorrow. Obviously, I'm worked up again. This Lavalette gets me. I cannot even read letters from Lavalette without crying. Lavalette's he was such a good man, you know. And you see his wife, she didn't even want to marry him. And this is how much he won her over. I'm just going to have to continue. Hopefully I won't cry tomorrow. That's all we can do. We try to get through this stuff. It's so sad. Anyway, it's I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to let you guys figure out what it is yourselves. And this is why they, you know, do everything to me. Because this is the truth. This is the truth. This is a really selfish group. Really selfish. And yeah, it keeps them in power that they are so merciless. And people are so passive and so afraid. All right, we're going to go to Spanish. But, you know, some of us keep the fight up because we believe in it. All right, so now we're going to do Spanish. Again, the slow destruction of Napoleon's digestive system so English gold can pretend that it's natural causes and then keep up that self-serving story for 200 years. And then they send agents after me because they want to maintain it. Because they don't want to be known as the murderers of heroes. Because Napoleon was really nothing if not a hero. There's no version of this story where he's not a hero. Well, they try to make him not a hero. He was a great hero. I mean, Napoleon wasn't a hero. Who was? All right. So once again, this slow murder. Okay. 30 de octubre. El emperador está muy pálido. Y se queja de la suma debilidad en que se encuentra. Siente un violento dolor de cabeza, otro bastante incómodo, en todo el tercio inferior de la pierna derecha, en el hipocondrio derecho y hasta la región epigástrica. Durante la noche he tenido las evacuaciones mezcladas de mochavilis, pero mejor elaboradas. Que los presidentes no quieren cerrarse de ningún remedio. 31 de octubre. El emperador está todavía peor que ayer. Ha pasado una noche muy agitada y con frecuentes evacuaciones. Subsisten con igual violencia los dolores de cabeza y del hipocondrio derecho, el pulso flojo y vibrátil. El enfermo está echado sobre un sofá, cubierto con varias mantas, a pesar de que el termómetro de Fahrenheit está a 65 o 66 grados. Las extremidades inferiores se han mantenido casi continuamente frías. Se opone siempre a toda medicina y solo le prescribe dieta severa, agua de arroz y algunas lavativas. Hacia el anochecer se vuelve el pulso algo más regular, aunque débil, y Napoleon se siente un poco mejor. Queja-se de que la piel de la parte en que han estado los vegetarios está rojo. Él hace experimentar un raro sentimiento de irritación. All right, so it says the end of that book, the fourth book. Okay. Anyway, so it's just talking about the horrible suffering that he was enduring and how Napoleon, despite all of his terrible suffering, was refusing to take medicines because he believed he was being poisoned, but he wasn't sure how. He certainly said repeatedly, like, look, do not toss me, I'm being poisoned. He knew he was being poisoned. He didn't know how. So he certainly didn't want medicine. He thought that the medicine would poison, but he didn't like medicine anyway. He certainly didn't like medicine. He had his way of, he had his ways. He'd go ride a horse until he was exhausted and go to sleep. I mean, he had his little things he did to get better, and they always worked for him, and he was a very healthy person. So, but once he's being poisoned, he knows he's done. So he just might as well wait it out. And that's kind of what he's saying. All right, so we're going to do German. I wish I understood German better. Hopefully one day I would. I have always really, 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 really wanted to learn German. I went to Germany and just stuck myself there to force myself to learn German. And I was talking to little kids, so I got that far. Little kids, I'm like, hey, how do I say this? Anyway, so I got to that 5-year-old level of German. I was kind of proud of myself. But these are difficult books, so it's not that easy to understand. But sometimes I remember what it was in the last 4 times I read this book in other languages. Anyway, der Krieg zwischen England und Frankreich hatte allmählich die Wendung eines fairen Kampfs auf Leben und Tod genommen. Die Erbitterung aller Engländer gegen Napoleon war auf den höchsten Punkt gekommen. Seine Dekrete von Berlin und Meilen, sein Kontinentalsystem beleidigender Ausdruck hatten alle Geister jenseits des Kanals in Gärung versetzt, während die Minister durch ihre Schmähschriften erlogen und alle ersinnbaren Mittel aller Leidenschaften in das Spiel zu bringen suchten, um den Kampf auf Äußerstes zu nationalisieren. Auch hatte man bei hohen Parlamenten den Krieger als oder wenigstens auf die Lebensdauer proklamiert. Der Kaiser glaubte, seiner Pläne nach diesem Träger der Verhaltenis einrichten zu müssen und versickerte von diesen Augenblicken ebenso sehr aus Berechnung als aus Notwendigkeit auf alle Kreuzungen aller entfernter Unternehmungen, aller zweifelhafte Versuche. Er entschloss sich zu der strengsten Defensive bis zur entliegen und Ordnung seiner Kontinentalangelegenheiten und bis seiner versammelte sie Marke später mit Sicherheit zu schlagen gestattet hätte. Er behielt daher alle seine Schiffe in seinen Häfen zurück. Dachten darauf, allemalig unser sie magten ihre Mittel zu verfestigen, ohne irgendeine Marktstücke zu unternehmen, sodass alles bloß auf ein entferntes Resultat berechnet war. Unsere Marine hatte einen großen Verlust an Schiffen erlitten. Die meisten unserer guten Matrosen waren in ihnen gefangen und alle unsere Häfen waren von der Seemacht blockiert und in ihren Kommunikationen gehindert. Der Kaiser ließ Kanäle in der Bretagne graben mit deren Hilfe Matrosen den Feinden in der Folge von Bordeaux, Rochefort, Nantes, Roland, Antwerpen, Cherbourg mit Brest kommunizieren und alle Verräter, die man bedürfen mochte, herbeiführen konnte. Er wollte so Vlissingen oder in der dortigen Nähe besondere Bassinsen legen, so die völlig ausgerüstete Entfärberflotte den Winter zu bringen und in 24 Stunden in die offene Jasse fahren konnte. Sie war nämlich in der Schelde 5 Monate des Jahres. Viele Feinde zurückgehalten. Einig hatte er den Plan zu Bologna oder an irgendeiner anderen Stelle jener Küstenreine anliegen, dann wie zu Cherbourg und zwischen Cherbourg und Brest einer passenden Ankerplatz zu Flairboy richten zu lassen, alles in der Absicht zu jeder Seite und ohne Gefahr eine freie und vollkommene Kommunikation unsere Schiffe von hohem Bord von Antwerpen bis nach Brest zu sichern. Den Mangel der Matrosen und die großen Schwierigkeiten der Bildung derselben betreffen würde befohlen, dadurch keine Fürsorge zu treffen, dass man die jungen Konskribierten täglich auf unseren Reden notte. Zuerst sollten sie auf kleine leichte Schiffe gebracht werden. Eine solche Flottille sollte sogar in der Südersee kreuzen. Von hier aus sollten sie dann auf die großen Schiffe übergehen und immer durch nachfolgende verstärkt werden. Die Schiffe sollten ihrerseits täglich die Auferlegten ihrer Übungen vervielfältigen, soweit der Raum es gestattet hätte. Evolutionen machen sogar mit dem Feinde. Kanonen Schusswachsen, soweit man gesichert war, nicht gewollt, handgemein mit ihm zu werden. He's going on about his problems with the Marine. he was so frustrated. He really wasn't a sailor, and he couldn't find like that great Nelson. He wanted his own Nelson, a really good sailor to help him. He never found it. And we all know who he was up against, and they're awesome. They're awesome on the sea. So it goes on and on about it. Anyway, I thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great night.